So far we learned about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a few other projects. But there are literally tens of thousands of crypto projects in the world, and every day new projects come in line. And the question is, how do we evaluate these crypto projects? How do we do the due diligence for these crypto projects? So I think the first type of evaluation you need to do, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor, is really thinking about whether this crypto project on the blockchain is even needed. For example, if we remember, a crypto project is oftentimes based on a database, an add-only database. And the question is, why not use a traditional database? Why is Excel not good enough? Why do we need to put it on the blockchain? Why do we need to have a permanent record? Why do we need to have the consensus mechanisms? Why is a blockchain even necessary? And this is a question that a lot of times it's not answered. And it's the most foundational question when you think about whether to create or invest in a new project. In addition, once you decide to do that, you have to ask yourself which transactions and which data needs to be recorded. And different data is needed for different projects. Which multiple stakeholders need to have access to writing in the database or reading the ledgers. And if it's a permissionless application, why is a native token the best solution? For example, can we use another token like the Ethereum in the blockchain? What is the trade-off between performance, privacy, security, and coordination? How can a broad adoption for this type of blockchain be realized? And what is going to be ultimately the customer experience and the user interface? So these are the type of questions you need to ask yourself before you even decide to move a project to the blockchain. But once the project is on, and it's on the blockchain, and you want to assess it, you want to do the due diligence on it, you have to ask yourself 11 questions at the minimum. For example, what is the viability of the token use case? In other words, in what context do you expect this token to be used? And given the context, what is the potential market size? That is, if in your dream, what can you see the total market that will be ultimately used in the context of this crypto project? Thirdly, what is the value creation proposition? In other words, what is the pain point that this project is solving? It's oftentimes necessary to read the white paper and to look at the details and to look at the source code if possible, and to look at the motivation of the project. You need to look at the team. Who are the team members? What is their background? What is their history? What other projects were they previously involved in? And certainly, what type of venture capital has stood behind them and has given them funding? So if it's a very famous venture capital firm that has already a lot of experience doing different crypto projects, then that's obviously better than a no-name venture capital that doesn't have experience in the field. Then you need to evaluate the media and the community. Probably the most important community for a crypto project is Twitter. The second is Discord, of course, X, previously known as Twitter. So these type of Telegram is another example of a communication platform that has quite a lot of information. So these type of platforms are actually important to see what kind of conversations are being held over there. How many followers? How is the followers growing or decreasing over time? The eighth factor that you need to consider is the regulatory compliance of the project, because if they're not compliant, they could be shut down by the government. Probably the two most important is the AML and KYC. Anti-money laundering, AML. In other words, is this a way to not pay tax? Is the tax revenue are properly recognized? Or know your customer, or KYC. Do you know who is buying and selling these particular assets? And if it's a company, does it follow the SEC rules? Is it a security? And if it is a security, is it actually compliant with security law? The ninth factor you need to consider are what are the competitors? Who is already doing something in this particular pain point, in this particular issue that the protocol is solving? The 10th factor is the monetary policy, which we discussed earlier. And finally, the distribution of tokens. What is the allocation of tokens? Now you could see the different projects, Phantom, Terra, Solana, Cardano, and others, use different type of allocation. Some of the new tokens are allocated to the public, some to the community, some to the foundation, to the treasury, others to insiders who want to benefit from creation of the protocol. Obviously, if insiders are the only beneficiaries, it will be a misalignment, and the protocol will eventually die. So the various stakeholders have to benefit from the ecosystem, and the people that are incentivized to work in the ecosystem should also be ones that provide and promote the healthy and sustainable growth of that crypto project. Therefore, it's important to look at the allocation of tokens as a way to understand its sustainability. So, the kind of questions that you need to ask yourself. What is the value creation proposition? The pain point being solved? What are the transactions and data that need recorded? What are the various stakeholders and how to divide it? What are the competitors? And why actually we need append-only logs with a multiple party consensus? And why is that the best solution? And should we make it permissionless, or is it a permission system? In other words, should everybody have access to this blockchain, or should that access be limited to particular users? Some additional assessments that you might want to consider. Can a permission blockchain adequately address the same as the permissionless blockchain? How can broad adoption be realized? What is the customer interface? And how is it better than the current interfaces, both in the Web 2 and the Web 3 environments? What are the costs of verification and networking? And how can these costs be reduced? Why are append-only logs, multiple party consensus, the best solution? This is something that we need to really consider.